Welcome, welcome, welcome to this edition of Sagionic 1027. This is a special edition because this edition is about interviewing those on what is their Valentine love story for 2023. So with us today, we have a couple, Darryl and Lluvia. Diaz, is it Lanier or Lanier? Lanier or
It's
Lanier?
Lanier.
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 Lanier. Okay. We have this amazing couple with us today, and we get to learn a little bit about them. And if I was to hold up this microphone that's not connected, I would say we get to learn about. Tell us about your strengths in your marriage today, and how you can help others to do what you two have walked out to do. And I keep getting these bumps. So, although, what may be important for one couple may not necessarily be as important for another couple. So, Darryl, if you were to pick, when you stepped into this marriage relationship with Lluvia, what was most important to you when you were, say, looking for a spouse?
Wow. That was almost 18 years ago. I would say somebody who can, like one of the, not the most important, but I would say one of the things was somebody who enjoys having fun. I'm a happy-go-lucky kind of guy. I enjoy laughing and see, I make her laugh. Sometimes I don't know if it's because she's looking at me, she thinks I'm funny looking, or just being around me. I like to have. She's like the perfect person to help go along with some of the silly things I do. So that's pretty important for me.
That's good. You needed someone that well, and also if somebody that could make light of something, it wouldn't, there would be lightheartedness in the relationship. So how about you, Lluvia? What was most important to you?
Well, it's very interesting because, backstory is I met Darryl when I was 15. So when we met, all I dreamt was about being married and having kids and having a family. I think for me, the biggest thing I was looking for was security, something like where I could be me. So that was can you hear me? Sorry. The biggest thing was where I could just be me, judgment-free zone. I could be silly or goofy or socially awkward or whatever, and that I would be fully accepted. So I think that was initially what drew me to him in the first place.
Now, I think that's a beautiful thing that you said. You couldn't wait to grow up and get married and have kids. That was me. There's not, I think it's a gift. Right, I do. I think it's a gift. This is our second marriage, and so we came into marriage already having known about marriage. But my that we classify as our oldest is about to be 36 this year, and so I couldn't wait to grow up and be a mom. And I think it's a calling. I think it's a calling for some of us that we live, think, and breathe. Can't wait to be a mom.
So yeah. What is the most important thing in your marriage success?
I'd say, one of the biggest things is effective communication. To be real, we can communicate in so many different ways, nonverbal communication, just really with being around each other. But I think it's effective communication. Years ago, Lluvia used a great analogy. The one time in our marriage we argued, just one time, she made a great point. She says, I don't understand what you're saying. And I was like, wait, I'm saying it so clear. And in my mind, it was clear, but she says, you're throwing the ball to me, but I can't catch it. Like, you're throwing it way off to the side. And you're not communicating effectively. And I think that's been a huge key in what we have today with our marriage, is that effective communication.
That's really good. Now, how about I mean, that sounded like wisdom that is from above is first perfect and pure, easy to be entreated, full of mercy and good fruits. That's what that sounded like. That it came out of your mouth in such a way that Darryl understood. Wait a minute, I need to break it down differently.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so what is something that's been most important to you?
Yeah.
Man, there's so much. And as I thought about that question, there's certain seasons that there's certain things that are more important than others. So I feel like right now in this season that we're in, I'm learning, because it is that effective communication, but it's that mercy and grace to give each other do-overs, and saying, hey, I said that poorly. It came out wrong. I didn't expect the conversation to go this way. Can I get a do-over, please? And then, extending that grace and mercy and saying, yes, what is it that you're trying to communicate? Because right now that felt like a blow. So please help me understand what's going on. And so right now, even with our boys having do-overs within our conversations, because we don't intend to hurt each other by our nonverbals or by our tone of voice or however. Yeah.
Wow, that's really good, do-overs. But even you said like facial communications. I interviewed somebody a while back, and she said that one day she was somewhere in public with her children, and one of her daughters says, "Mom, your face is talking." Your face is talking. She goes, "Oh."
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's so true. That's so true.
Yesterday, even at service, our pastor was talking about, engaging with a teenager, and basically the teenager didn't use these words, but I don't remember the words he said, but along the lines of, like the son responds to the mom, "Oh, what's up, SA?" Right? And the mom's like, "No, that is not how you communicate to your mom."
Yeah. That's so true though.
Yeah. So share with us, we'll start with you first, Darryl. Darryl, what was placed inside of you that in essence made you want to become a student of your wife, to really understand her?
Oh yeah. So it goes back to me being younger. I come from a broken family, and while I love my parents, I noticed that they'd always worked so much, and so they were always so separate. Yet there was a lot of separation. One is working, the other's working, and so they didn't spend a lot of time together. But I kind of fell in love with her. I mean, I didn't want to be that husband who just sat back and just accepted the bare minimum. I mean, there's so much to learn about her family. And also I got to keep up with her. I think I could be just be the best man that God has called me to be, walking according to what he's called me to be, not only as a husband, or as a dad, right? But also as a friend, because being able to get on that same level as her, when she's struggling, I gotta find out what is making her struggle, what is on the inside of her that may be hurting, or if she's laughing, I want to laugh with her, and so it's just a constant thing of being able to connect on that same level and really love her the way that she needs to be loved at that same time. I mean, I think that's what's really kind of kept us on our toes, kept me on my toes. Everything from our move across country to being high school sweethearts. We've had almost 18 years of marriage. Learning about each other, and it's a lot of studying. I'll put it that way. but it's been well worth it. Still got a lot to go.
That is so great. And how about for you, Lluvia? How have you learned to okay, I'm going to word it this way, okay, because I think this is important for women. I'm 54 and I'm just now learning about women. I'm learning about myself because I spent so many years of laundry and cooking, and because we have 5 children, 5 grown that became 6, because one adopted us, and but I spent so many hours doing so many things for my family while working outside of the home full time that I'm now learning about. Oh, this is how women. This is what helps a woman, right? So how have you helped Darryl to understand a woman so that you can be the fullness of what you were created to be for him? But if he can't understand you, then how can you be the fullness, which is basically to bless him, to minister love, to be that encouraging voice to him? So share with viewers how you helped for there to be an understanding about the complexities of a woman.
I know if I understood myself, I'm going through my whole, discovery journey right now as well. But I think so years ago, and I don't remember what year it was, but I just remember it wasn't an easy season in our marriage. We were both in ministry, we were working outside the home, and I just remember the Lord depositing this. That I need to be a crown to my husband. And at that point, I was not a crown to his head. I was probably a burden. I would call it a burden. I would call it, like I was making his life worse and harder than it needed to be because I was being selfish in lots of areas. Now, in that season, I would have argued with anybody like, well, I deserve that, or this is what I expected from a marriage. This is what it's supposed to be like, but it was still deeply rooted within, selfishness. I was looking to self-preserve. I was looking for self-fulfillment. And so when the Lord brought that to light, that I needed to be a crown, I'm like, okay, what does that look like then, Lord? How do I become this? And I'm not, making it harder for him. And it's really just spending that time with the Lord and being filled where I can outpour to him, because at that point I was getting filled enough, but I was being dispersed to everybody else before it came to him. And so he was getting my leftovers. So in order to help him learn me, I guess it was, I needed to be a better friend to him. So that he would be receptive to want to get to know me and understand me more. It had to come, I don't know if that makes sense, but it had to come in from a different angle. I had to learn how to serve him and love him from that point, or in that season, so that he would really want to understand me. I hope that answered the question. I don't know if I answered it.
That's a very good answer.
It was great. And Darryl, so how did that, because it sounds like at one point there was a switch, right? So share with viewers, because this is important, because like you said, giving yourselves, oh no, you guys didn't say it, the other couple did. Giving yourself the permission to like restart, reset. Can we do that over again, right? To do a do-over, right? So going back to that point, share with viewers what it did in you, how it literally, there was like a switch, like, wow, in you.
Yeah. It was, it's a process even to today, because we know that we're not perfect. But at the same time, we know that we're not perfect, but just like in life, we like to believe that we have everything together, and we like to believe that we have it all, top shelf, everything is good, and everything plays out according to planned. But really being able to have that understanding between each other that, like, we know we're not perfect, And I do the best that I can to constantly, because I make a lot of mistakes, right? So I do the best I can to apologize, just really to set that example as a husband, also for my sons as a father, but really as a role model to even myself. What it's been able to do is it's been able to soften my heart that much more. And it's a very, very, very humbling experience because I'm able to see that even though I am a new creation is still continuing to be molded into the image of Christ. And, being able to walk out those things which he has called us to is not just a one-time thing. It's something that what I'm continuing to learn is that I need to continue to humble myself and to be willing to accept my faults, being willing to accept my shortcomings, and at the same time, not only being willing to accept it, but to grow from it and to really be able to take that next step and leading my family well. And it's a process. Sometimes can be a hard process, but at the same time, being able to come together and have that understanding really brings us to a better place to really do those do-overs, which we probably set a record for being able to do do-overs with each other. It's been pretty cool, though.
I think it's important, apologizing is important because even to our children, to if you look back at a situation, you're like, oh gosh, because it does set the example for our children, to just say, gosh, I'm sorry about that, and yeah.
I think in a lot of ways too, you were talking about do-overs. Yeah, it's okay to, in some aspects, to call a do-over, but then you had to have the other person accept the do-over also. So you guys got to be on that same page, and that goes along with communication that you were talking about earlier.
I'll tell you. So I just learned about do-overs just recently. That's why that's in the forefront. But Darryl's always been the first to apologize. I will wallow a little bit more and grumble a little bit more, and he's always the first one to come back and say, hey, this isn't the way I wanted this to go, or and he's always been first to apologize in front of the boys or apologize to the boys for the way he spoke to me. So he set that example, and so I feel like when I need a do-over, because he is always quick to apologize, it's the foundation that has set these do-overs. If it wasn't for that, I think we would have struggled a lot more in maybe granting each other do-overs. But because we've seen that throughout our marriage, and our boys get to experience that and see that, I think that's the big part too, is that it's not just apologizing behind closed doors, but that he's willing to show our boys, or to even apologize to our boys for, hey, I raised my voice at your mom, and that was not right. That is not okay. Yeah. And walking that out really honors me as his wife, and that's just been really foundational so that we could extend those doors. And we know we can't really erase the past and oh no, what I heard you say was already, but it sets the environment for forgiveness.
But and what it also does though too is for her to be able to receive it. I mean, sometimes it's not the easiest thing to receive, but for them to, not only our boys but for me too, to be able to see our flesh is easily persuaded. Our flesh is really weak, right? And so it would be easier for her to say, no, I'm not accepting that. I'm not ready right now. Well, and all that, and rightfully so, because it's certain situations. It's like, man, I'm not ready. I need to cool off. I need to simmer. But what she does, and it actually draws it out of me even more, right? Is that she'll listen, and sometimes I'll take those nonverbal communications and those nonverbal cues to like, okay, I apologize. Now I'm going to take a step back and I'm going to let it soak in a little bit, right? But at the same time, it sets that example and it sets that tone in our household. It sets a tone with the people around us and our boys especially. We go back to our boys because, we want to model to them. I want to model to them what it's like to be a godly husband. And I want them to also see what it's like to be around and to be in a relationship, in a marriage with a godly wife, and for them to accept nothing less. But also for them to see that we're not perfect all the time. But when we're not perfect, let's humble ourselves. Let's go to the feet of grace and just make sure that we're making things right between each other.
Yeah, that's really good because if you think of it, we all have, if we're created in the image of the Creator, we're created to be creative, right? Therefore, we have a creative desire to want to create. So our mind is always in that creative state because creation never stops, right? So if you were to throw, this is good, it's just coming to me. If I was to take an egg and I was to throw it on a tree trunk, that egg would slime all over the tree trunk, correct? The yucky goopiness would be all over the tree trunk. So even if I thought, oh snap, maybe I shouldn't have done that, that tree trunk has been slimed. By the egg, right? And so if we think of, I can only talk on behalf of a woman, right? So when something comes our direction that's an ouch, right? Our mind is so, like a woman can think of 900 things at once while doing a task, right? And so if something comes our direction, it doesn't stay isolated in one little spot. It doesn't just stay like right here. I'm just gonna, like, we'll just put it on a piece of my hair. It doesn't stay just right here.
Right.
Oh no, it's gone all throughout my head, up in my head, down in my heart, right? And so I think it's a really good advice to not demand, oh no, you will be right back to being my beautiful, happy, acceptable bride this very second, right? Instead to just step back because she's got to now get the slime out of everywhere in her.
Yeah. That's good though. That's really good. That's really good because and it depends on the situation, right? And it depends on the circumstance. It depends on and the offense. To be real, there could be it's simply like there was I left my socks. I left my socks down and like left them on the floor or something, or I didn't clean up my coffee cup, or she did something, and again I have to sit back, I forgot her anniversary. I didn't forget her anniversary though, by the way, but something like that could be more meaningful to her, and on the other side I could be like, I can't believe you're getting offended by that, but like you said though, like us guys, we're so compartmentalized, right? That, I'm pretty sure you've heard it said, like, there's times where I'm not thinking about anything. I'm just in my nothing box and I'm just laying there and just not thinking about anything. And she has like 45 things that she's thinking about.
They're all intertwined.
They're all connected. And she goes, are you thinking about anything? And like, I snap out of it and I'm like, well, I am now, like, before I wasn't, But that's such a good analogy with that egg. That makes so much sense. You got to take time and you got to let it like come out of the hair, it goes all over the place and everything's connected.
Yeah, I can't take credit for the egg analogy because it just came Johnny on the spot.
I loved it.
It was good.
Yeah.
Something I want to touch on too, just because Joe brought up just the effective communication and offenses. Something we're understanding too is what we already brought to the marriage, what like our frame of references are, because things that to him might seem very minimal and not that big of a deal carry a lot of weight if it's spoken to me or said a certain way or done a certain way. And then I'll think it's an attack. I'll see it personalized as a personal attack, and that's not even his intentions or his heart, or vice versa. But the more we learn about each other, the more we're, what you said, students of each other, the more we're deepening our friendship. like if truly, like, yes, we're husband and wife, but if I'm not his friend and he's not my friend, then we're not pursuing each other to a new level and a better understanding of each other. We just came from a workshop in California that walked us through, and that's something we're always doing, is growing and learning and going to different marriage conferences or just personal growth to better understand ourselves, because I can share that with him, or else he's kind of in the blind thinking he knows enough. And I'm like, wait, I still don't know enough about me. Oh, that's what triggers me. Or why does that trigger me? Why is that such a big deal? But the more we understand ourselves, the more we can share and be vulnerable and share those things with each other, so that when we do, accidentally step on each other's toes, we're able to say, okay, that I see where you're coming from now. It's having that compassion for each other, to know, okay, that you're not, it's not really me, but I triggered something. I said something that definitely it's one of those knee-jerk reactions out of you.
That's good. That's really good. Really good.
That's really good. And so is that a passion that initially you both shared, to be students? Like, you have some people, okay, I'm going to use the example of this amazing, kind of find out where it's at in the screen. This is it's a harmonica. It's probably 200 years old. It recently came in my possession. The inside is all wooden. It is the most remarkable thing ever, right? And you express that, okay, you didn't share this, but I'm going to share this, and then you shared the opposite. Sometimes there are people in life who are just like, this is who I am. This is who I will always be. I will never change. But that's not the angle that you guys have come at. You guys have come, so is that something you both shared initially, to both become students of life? Like, I want to learn. I want to be the better version of me. Can you share a little bit about that, Darryl?
Yeah, well, I mean, it was, like I said earlier, I came into the marriage like, hey, I got it all together. I'm good. You're the one that needs to change. You're the one that needs to go to therapy. You're the one that needs to sit on a couch and talk to somebody about your feelings, And I'm like, I'm good. Just talk to this woman right here. But, that's just a distorted view. I mean, I think it's just over time, because, if we're being raw here for a moment, like, we met in high school, and, she was 15, I was 16, and, we had our first son in high school. I was 18, she was 17. And, that really kind of, threw us for a loop. We didn't know what to expect, right? But at the same time, we were prideful. I'm going to speak for both of us, we're prideful teenagers. And, we've been married nearly 18 years now. So we've had quite a few years to try to figure this stuff out. And I think when I realized that it just wasn't working, like, it just wasn't working the way I thought it would. I thought if I did A, B, and C, she would do 1, 2, and 3. But then I realized, is like, I thought I was doing everything I needed to do in order for her to follow suit. But, we were like speaking 2 separate languages. We were like she had said at one point, she's like, hey, are we on the same page? And she goes, yeah, we may be on the same page, but we're in different books, and so I mean, it's really, it's being able to kind of, like, for me, it's a learning, you touched on it earlier, like being a student. I mean, it's a never ending journey, to continue to learn more and more about my wife, because she doesn't stay the same. She changes constantly, and if I stay the same, then it's a stagnant movement, like a swamp, right? And what's inside of a swamp, you got mosquitoes, and you got bugs, and you got algae, and you got all this type of stuff, because it's stagnant and there's no movement. And I think that's the way that a marriage can get as well, is that if you're not constantly moving and actually learning and really stirring each other up, then you're going to get a stagnant marriage. And I think for me, it's just really understanding that I don't want to be normal. I don't want to have what the world considers a normal marriage, right? I want something that is supernatural. I want something that is different. I want to be able to live a life that is going to be adventurous, that is going to be challenging, that's really going to push us to our limits. So in a good way, obviously, but push us to our limits so that we can continue to learn more about each other, on a daily basis, really.
Yeah, I think so. We definitely have that understanding that we're not the same. I think because we have that, it's an advantage now, but because we met in high school, we're so young, we knew we were growing. We knew we weren't going to stay there.
Yeah.
But it's this understanding that, and Craig Rochelle says it great, growth and comfortability don't coexist. So we know we need to grow. We know we need to, and as he grows and develops and matures as a man of God, he's not the same that he was 2 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, because he's maturing in just his walk with the Lord, his faith. He's growing from faith to faith and glory to glory. So of course he's different. Things are different. He's just maturing. So it's something that I think we both understand of each other. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm pretty sure I don't even have the same favorite color, right? Like there's just things that are not the same. And so
hold on, I need to take notes here. What is it? What is your new favorite color?
But it's understanding that he's not. If I expected him to stay the same, I don't know. I think I would be.
It'd be boring, right?
It would, and I think I'd be disappointed because I know that he has so much potential to grow and be all that God's called him to be. So if I think he's gonna stay the same, I would be deceived.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and staying the same is boring sometimes. I mean, it really is. I mean, it gets old. I mean, it's like wearing the same clothes all the time. They get old and stale and smelly. You don't want that. You kind of want to try something new. Get a new pair of sneakers. I mean, you gotta color them up a little bit. You figured out a way to like really create something new. And for me too, I try to learn something new about her all the time. I try to ask as many questions as possible, just to be able to, because she's going. We have two. We operate separately, but we do it together, if that makes sense. We operate separately, but we need to do it together. We need to be congruent about it. We need to make sure that we are still in line when our vision for where the Lord is taking us. The Lord is taking two separate people on the same path together, with her strengths and my strengths, by God bringing them together. I think what it does is it actually helps us grow our strengths, and she's able to step in for all of my weaknesses and be able to put those into perspective for me. So that way, and she does a good job of that, by the way, in a loving way. But
we have to be able to share each other's blind spots. And I think that's a blind spot.
Yeah. But it's good. It helps us. Being able to see each other for who we truly are. We get to be real. We get to be raw with each other, and really continue to learn. And we just hope that a lot of times that we're able to be a great example for other couples and other families. I mean, I know we're not perfect, but at the same time, we're not going to put up like these fake, these facades and everything, and for people to think that we have it all together when actuality, we're still learning. 18 years of marriage for some people is nothing compared to, everything that they go through in their life.
It's definitely not easy. It's not easy.
Yeah.
But
that's right. So what month is your guys' anniversary?
May 28th.
In May. Okay. So you alluded to being faith-based. Okay. You follow King Jesus, right?
Yep.
So aside from I like to spell it because I think it sounds fun. Aside from the Bible, okay, what are some teaching tools, right? We all have different learning styles. Some of us are auditorial learners. Some of us are hands-on learners. Some of us are textile learners. So what are some different training resources that, this is for both of you separately, for you, Darryl, what are some things that, oh man, this is money, share with the men.
Yeah. There recently we went through really it's a workshop. It's called R3 Relationship Lifeline. And what it is really kind of a self-discovery. And while, she was in the class as well, for me, really it was me being vulnerable, me being vulnerable to me and me actually really seeing my weaknesses. And so I would say for me, for guys out there, listen, like, never give up. I mean, there's going to be some things that are going to stop you dead in your tracks. But what's really going to be able to determine who you are and how far you are willing to go in order to be successful is really what you have right here. Is really, are you going to sit back and are you going to let something that knocks you down on your butt, are you going to let it keep you there? Or are you going to get back up and say, no, not today? Are you going to really sit and are you going to really say, well, I've been defeated again? And one thing I like to say is, failure is a stepping stone to success, because you can't get anywhere without knowing where you can't be, right? If you're constantly going on the same path and you don't know what failure is, then you'll never know what success is. And so continue to strive. I'm really big on motivation, and I love to be able to see guys succeed and to really be real and raw with themselves. Listening to a lot of motivational speakers. There's a lot of guys out there and a lot of women out there. But I would say, all in all, I think it's a self-discovery. It's taking care of yourself. It's being able to admit your shortcomings and know the places that you have to actually work on. Because we live in a society and in an age today where everything is on your phone, and it's that affirmation that you try to get from social media, right? It's all of these social media platforms, and all that is fake anyways. So why don't you just put that stuff down? And I look at it like, instead of looking at what's on your phone, stand up and look in the mirror. I have this, what's really helped me is it's the 2-2-2 method. And so really what it is that, my thing is you wake up in the morning, and you thank God for two things. Like, you thank God for two things. Like, I thank you, God, for a home, something small. I thank you for a home. I thank you for my family, right? And then you look in the mirror and you say two words or two affirmations about yourself as you're looking into the mirror. You are successful. You're going to crush it today, right? And then I think of two things that I can be thankful for to people, right? And it's just a constant. Some people may say, oh yeah, it's a mind game type of thing. Well, hey, maybe it is. But for me, it helps. And it's helped me go to that next level, because I know I'm going to fall on my butt. But you know what? I'm going to get right back up, and I'm going to keep pressing forward.
That's right. That's good. And think of it, okay? Even if somebody calls it a mind game, we're either going to do one or two things. We're going to do the mental deteriorating game of wow. Okay, or we're going to do the mental mind game of, I can do it, I will do it, I must do it, right? One or the other. Our brain's either going one way or the other way. So it's kind of silly if somebody calls it a mind game. It's not fake it till you make it. That's not what it is. It is, no, I'm going to fix my eyes this direction. I'm going to focus this direction, and that's the direction I'm going to go. Right?
Oh, that's right. And I mean, it's so important. You wake up and you're grateful for two things. You look in the mirror and you actually speak two things of affirmation. And then, you have your two victories. It could be making your bed and then brushing your teeth. When we're created anew every single day. I mean, His mercies are new every morning. So why not walk in them? Why not stand tall and know who we actually are and have that confidence. I think it's so hard it's so hard for men to be vulnerable, because men, I mean, generally speaking, society shows men as supposedly they're supposed to be strong with no emotion. They're supposed to be the ones that have it all together. But you know what? It's okay if we mess up. We're not perfect, but once we actually find that release and we're able to understand that, and we're able to understand that it's okay not to be perfect, not have everything together, it's interesting how our mindset will shift, and then how we'll say, oh, we don't have everything together. Okay, now I know what I need to work on. And so you're not hiding anymore. And so I think to help me be a better, like you were saying, to be better, it could be that mindset. But you know what? That's what some people need. That's what some people need. And like for me, it's the motivation. It's really continuing to see other people who have been successful in marriages. And I haven't been a big reader, over my life, but, recently I've been picking up some books and, being able to glean and to feed off others who I feel in my purview is, they're successful, and it helps me to be a better man.
That's right. That's right. That's really good. Do you want to share on the man part?
No.
Because you just manufactured humble pie and served it up to everybody on Valentine's Day of 2023. Brother Darryl, you nailed it.
I don't know whether to hide my face or give myself a high five. I don't know what to do.
But I'm going to say this because it is admirable for the bigger purpose of wanting to be that example for your bride, be that example for your sons, be that example for other couples. There's no pride in that. There's not, because you cannot have the success that you speak of in your marriage unless you allowed yourself to stand in the line that said, I do beat my body and bring it into subjection, right?
Yeah.
Unless you chose to be in the line that said, take my veins, I yield, right? and it's not rocket scientist to say that you've chosen to be stretch Armstrong, right? You've chosen to be stretched behind the scenes for the bigger picture in life. The bigger,
yeah.
And I think that's amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. So, Lluvia, how would you share with us your learning style? How did you learn, what different things come your direction that help you besides the BIBLE?
So many things come to mind right now. A couple of things. Something I'm learning just even about the brain and past experiences, just like I can walk by a store and smell something and it reminds me of a memory, right? It brings back a memory. So like our brains hold on to things that I might not even know. So like when I mentioned, why do I trigger? Why did that piss me off? Like, why did that matter so much? Why did I let that get to me? Something that I'm now applying and learning is, how does that work in our marriage? What did I already bring? What does he bring? But something that's like a applicable thing for wives out there, and it might seem a little silly, but I know other wives that do the same thing. I have a picture. I'm going to show it, babe.
No.
I have a picture of Darryl as a little boy as my screen, on my screen. Now,
Wait, hold on,
so the reason for that.
Hold on. Yeah, I love it.
Now, so the reason for that is there are things that if he were to say to me, and I see this, almost 40-year-old man say something to me, and it would crush.
Wait, you can edit that out, right? I mean,
It would just crush my heart that he would say or do something like that. But when I really think through life and life experiences and how we see through specific lenses and the frame of reference that we come in, again, his heart's not like to wake up that morning and be vengeful and say, I'm going to do everything I can to ruin Yuvi's day. I know that that's not his heart. Now, maybe it was, 11, 12, 15 years ago, maybe, because it was a really, really difficult just season. But I'm learning that within triggers, within the brain, when we get triggered, like we can't even logically think. Like we don't think rationally. It's a knee-jerk reaction. So if I were to poke certain things, there'd be a response. Now, this is something that I learned because I injured my back last year and recently. So my son would hug me and I'm like, oh, and he's like, Mom, I'm so sorry. I hurt you. But he didn't hurt me. My back was injured. He didn't hurt me by his hug. And so something I'm learning is sometimes we try to love each other, but there's an injury there. And so there he had surgery in his shoulder. If I were to hug him and embrace that part, his knee-jerk reaction, it would be like, get off me, like, ow, this hurts. And his response might be different. And here I am like, I was just trying to love you, like, F you then, whatever, right? But it's not, it's understanding he has some past injuries, and I can't recognize that. I don't see the emotional pain that he's walked through, so I don't know that that's something I should be aware of. So that was one, and now I forgot the second one. But the second part goes with that is, so let's go back to the whole thing when he had shoulder surgery. If I were to negligently just embrace him and expect him to love me in return, but he, screams and yells and says and runs off, and I could either do one or two things. I can be super, super hurtful, like I can't believe he doesn't love me, and let my brain go there, or I can say, oh my goodness, there's something there. Let me walk this out with him. And so early on in our marriage, I was the one that says, okay, he doesn't love me, and I would lock him out. And so to wives, that's the one, I would say is to, don't lock him out. That just makes it even worse. It's such a dangerous place to go there, and to stay there is to push away farther because of whatever. Again, these are non-physical injuries. You can't see those wounds. And when we say things that trigger, it might not even be anything big, but it might just be, he mentioned it last month. He's like, I didn't realize it, but certain things that you do remind me of someone else. And I'm like, I didn't even realize that I could have easily, years ago, I could have, and I probably was just saying, okay, you don't love me, I'm going to just walk away, I'm going to let you be, and I'm going to isolate, and I'm going to not let there be any connection anymore. So I'm like, that's the big takeaway for any wives that have that tendency to avoid and to shut down. It's just a dangerous place, and don't stay there.
That's really wise. I'm just speaking of, that there's past things that people have that can trigger them from pains within their own self, right?
Yeah.
And so an interview that we did, I gotta admit this, an interview that we did right before you guys, is that, the thing about reality is, even though you guys have been together forever since it was high school, right? Darryl is his own man and Lluvia is her own woman, right? And then you put the two together, but you still continue to grow as individuals with the bigger purpose of growing together as a couple, with the bigger purpose of moving forward together as a couple, yet remaining individuals, right? And I don't know. I just think this is great. And so it's what I would like you guys to do. I would like you to extend a blessing over couples who don't have all their stuff together, who are struggling and are just like, oh,
Mm,
gosh, there's got to be an answer out there.
yeah.
And I would just like you both to spend a moment extending a blessing over couples that are hearing this that are discouraged.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. I want to speak to you. Listen, it's not over. It's not over. Anything worth having in life is worth fighting for. You're not going to have it together. You're not going to walk in perfection. Your wife isn't going to be those perfect brides that you see on TV. It's not going to happen. But it all starts with you. It starts with being able to sit back and to really count the cost. To sit back and to really say, yes, we can be victorious. Because there's going to be bumps in the road. There's going to be times where you want to give up. But you didn't start this to sit back and give up now. Whether you've been together for 6 months or whether you've been together for 6 years, there's plenty more to learn. And the reward is so good. The reward and the benefits and the blessings are so amazing. But you need to take this opportunity and to look at any of your shortcomings and any of your failures and use those as stepping stones towards your success.
Well, I bless you with. Wish I could outpour all this wisdom, but don't give up on each other. I pray for endurance and perseverance and a renewedness of love to build compassion for each other, to see each other in a new light. Again, to see maybe that younger version of your spouse. They didn't become, who they are without walking through some things. To see them through new lenses, extending compassion, grace, and mercy, and really bringing back to why you chose to marry each other. What was it? And come back to the why. It's not easy. It's not perfect. It's not going to be. And so I pray that you would not be alarmed when it gets messy and you're in unfamiliar territories. We're human, but to not give up on each other, to extend that love in action. So love in action is just extending mercy, forgiving each other on the daily. We step on each other's toes. I also pray that you would learn to dance together. Something Darryl and I learned to do is it takes quite a lot of all kinds of understanding to dance, physically dance together and lead and follow and understand each other at a new level when you physically have to walk it out. So I pray that you guys would see each other in a new light and just come back to why you chose each other and to see each other in a new light.
And I would speak to the men one more time, and I want to encourage you to really love your wives as Christ so loved the church. So many relationships right now, they falter because we're not doing what we should be doing as men. And while it's so easy to sit back and point fingers, I want to propose to you to look in the mirror and to see how we can improve as men. And I pray over all of the marriages out there and the relationships. And I pray that there would be such a effective, communicative relationship between you two that will bring such fruit, that will be an example for those around you. Because the easiest thing to do is to give up. But now's not the time. Now's not the time to give up. We believe in you. We know what you can do. And we know what you are capable of. So stand tall. Lift your head up. And know what you've been called to do.
Amen. So I really thank you guys for coming on this episode, and I know it will be used to bring an enormous amount of encouragement to people, and for many decades to come, we will see the fruit that manifested from this interview. And so I really thank you for your time. And to all of our other viewers out there, I just want to say thank you for coming to this episode of Sagionic 1027. And until our next episode, may the Lord bless you. May the Lord keep you. May the Lord make his face to shine upon thee always. Blessings. Bye.
Bye. Bye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.